Where is the camera? There it is. Hey everyone. It's Thursday, it's office hours. Just wrapped up a day of therapy. Did I mention I love what I do? Because I do. I really do enjoy therapy. I had a question from someone. I guess we'll start off with questions, and I guess I'll say this first. This is your opportunity to ask me anything and everything. Dr. Mondo, licensed therapist, researcher of obesity, weight loss, and all of the stuff in between. Anyway, one of the questions that I got this past week, and I've been getting it a lot, the more that there's traveling and the more there's stuff going on, has been, are you going to keep your practice open? And if those of you that are here in Sacramento, you know I have a practice in Sacramento, private practice where, in this room, in fact, where I do therapy. And the question continues to be, are you going to keep that practice going as you continue to do more things with the Dr. Mondo stuff? And the answer to that is absolutely and definitely. In fact, I have no retirement plans whatsoever from therapy. I plan on doing therapy as long as I can manage to still be somewhat useful to people because I love it. I absolutely love it. And I have no plans of ever giving that up. So I will be here. You can't get rid of me that easy. If you are some of my individuals or couples or families that I'm currently seeing for therapy, I'll continue to do it. There may come a time when I drop my practice down to a smaller caseload, but that's not happening anytime soon. So anyway, it's office hours. It's a chance for you guys to ask your questions and log on. There's some big things that are going on right now. One of the big things that we had was the interview on Tuesday night with Josh Lajani, the plant-based Elvis of the plant-based world. And anyway, if I don't know, I'm still just thinking about how amazing that conversation was. If you didn't have a chance to watch it, go watch it right now. And feel free to comment on that too while you're in there, and let us know what you thought. If there's any residual leftovers from the Josh Lajani interview, by all means, let me know about those too. Josh is just, I really like him a lot. I really thought he was just a fun interview, a fun person to talk with. His honesty, it was like I knew him forever, because every question I asked, he just wanted to go deep on. And his ability to change gears and talk about big life things and be honest about his insecurities and to be honest about his fears and his vulnerabilities, and then also switch gears and talk to me about hip hop and the New Orleans Saints and football and all that stuff. That was just really cool. So again, if you guys haven't checked it out, watch the interview with Josh Lajani that was on this week's Rewriting My Story broadcast. Another big interview we have coming up next week. Some of you guys, another person that's kind of like an Elvis in his own right, is Rob on the Road. And if you guys are familiar with the PBS show that he does, Rob on the Road, he's just a guy that I had a chance to meet him very briefly, in fact, at the farmer's market not too long ago. And we just immediately went live because we got into a really great conversation. And he, another guy that I just, if you haven't guessed already, I really appreciate people in general that are just willing to be really open, honest, vulnerable, and just cut right to it. I don't do the surface level conversations for too long before we got to get deep. And Rob, like Josh, has the ability to just do that, and it just makes for such interesting, authentic conversation. One of the things that's interesting, though, too, about Rob is that you'll find this out. Rob, in addition to being just an amazing television host and member of the Sacramento community, he also has a story of weight loss transformation and of addiction. And so that's a story that he hasn't often shared, and he will be sharing it this week. So I'm very, very excited to have him on Tuesday be our guest. So that's what's been going on as far as the Rewriting My Story Tuesday night broadcasts. So if there's any questions you guys have about that, if there's any questions you guys have about guests that you would like to see on the show, we get a lot of those sometimes in here too. Do us a favor and go ahead and drop the names of the people or tag the people. Make it even easier for us who you would like to see be a guest on Rewriting My Story. And it's going to be absolutely unbelievable to just continue to work through the folks that we've been referred to. Would you believe it that back in January, the idea came about to do a Facebook Live show. And that idea came simply from something I spoken to exist. I was in the middle of a conversation with Michael Sawinski, who is the director of the film Food Choices. He's the director of the Yo-Yo Effect, a film that will come out later this year, probably on Netflix or one of those other platforms. And it just came out. I said, I want to interview you on my show, because I got a chance to be interviewed by him for his documentary, The Yo-Yo Effect. And he said, you have a show? And I said, yeah, I do. And it wasn't one of those things that I just like made up on the spot. It was truly, I knew I wanted to have a Facebook Live show. Some of you know I have a broadcasting background. I used to do sports broadcasting. I miss it. I used to have a weekly sports show here in Sacramento, working with the Kings and stuff like that. And so it's a passion to resurrect for me. But, people, anytime I would tell people about that, they're like, you're going to have to, like, if you do your own show, now that you're into psychology, you're going to be like a Dr. Phil type. And I'm like, oh my God. So I stayed away from it, but I'm so glad that I didn't, because I really hope it's not Dr. Phil on Tuesday nights. It's been so cool, though, just to have this format where we interview people about rewriting their story. And really, we do it because we want to showcase transformation to encourage and inspire you. But on top of that, we're trying to let you guys know that these stories, these transformations that you've seen, there's more to the story than you realize. The before and after photos of Josh Lajani, for example, are incredible. Of Justin Lacey, of Tim Kaufman, Anthony Macelio, BJ Swingle. There's all these, Nalita Besson, all these transformation photos are absolutely incredible. But what you lose is the fact that there's often battles with body and self-esteem issues. There's often battles with food addiction. There's often battles with even being in a new body and still not totally accepting yourself, as Josh alluded to this past week. There's struggles with depression. There's struggles with anxiety. There was ways that food was being used as a resource to save people in moments of feeling really anxious and depressed, and to regulate emotion. So, these are all things that we don't talk about it enough. And that's why we have the space to do it on Tuesdays. And that's also why we are here right now and tuning in for you guys. Because if any of you have questions related to any of those things, then please, by all means, let us know. And we would love to answer your questions. And Joyce says hello. And hey, Joyce, I'm wondering if you have a question here for office hours. So as we start to see more and more people kind of jump into today's office hours, we're looking to see again who has questions today, and how can we help you guys out. One of the things, and this is kind of like the overtime from last Tuesday's broadcast with Josh Lajani. One of the things that I'm getting ready to dive in here, and this is it's good for me to test this out when only about 5 of you are in here in the office, but I want to have a conversation with our community about not like let's weigh on the positive or the negative side, like are we for it or are we against it, but just what is the conversation and the dialogue around plastic surgery. And it's a question that I actually it totally slipped my mind. We were talking more about, I think, hip hop and other things that just were more interesting to me. But I wanted to ask Josh that question because from what I can gather in his Missing Chins running club, and if there's any of you guys that are from that club that are tuning in, please by all means weigh in on this. But no pun intended. But there seems to be a consensus from Josh and his crew and some people we've had on the show that are from that Josh Lajani camp, that there's almost like, that Missing Chins crew is against doing any sort of like tummy tucks or excess skin removal. That's just the consensus I get. And I think it's been pretty much directly said. Now, when I jump on into another platform on Instagram, I see a lot of people on that platform who've gone through incredible weight loss transformations, and many of them have elected to have surgery post weight loss to remove excess skin, whether it's from, and the journeys I've followed are people that are doing it, some through plant-based diets, others through just other dietary means, but they choose to have surgery to basically restructure their body because there's some areas of their body that continue to have, have visceral fat, or there's certain body parts of their body where there's excess skin, and in some ways, in some ways those things can be problematic for people. Like they can actually prove to be issues for someone physically, but in other ways it's just a cosmetic thing that people choose to have because they really just would feel like that's the end part of their transformation. When I was back in New Jersey, I had a chance to interview a doctor. We're gonna actually have him on the broadcast. I'm excited about it, and I'm going to interview him on Facebook Live. I have a short interview that I did with him, but he's one of the leading plastic surgeons on the East Coast, and I said New Jersey. We were in so many states. He's in Maryland, Dr. Joseph Michaels, and I got a chance to speak with him, and it was a really cool talk. I got a chance to actually go in and have him speak with me. I didn't film this part of it, but I actually had him do an evaluation for me. Mostly because I've always thought I would never, ever, ever, ever have any types of surgery. And I've been through weight loss transformations now about 8 times. I never thought I'd consider it. But watching him and what he has shared on Instagram, when I was out in his area, it actually made me want to sit with him and just talk with him. And it's a vulnerable thing. Like if anyone's ever had that process of your body is evaluated by someone else, and especially if you've gone through your own struggles with body image stuff. Like I was the kid I told you guys this week with Josh, like chlorine used to give me a panic attack. Like the thought of taking my shirt off in public and when you lose weight a drastic amount of times, like your body does not all of a sudden look perfect or like what you see in the magazines and stuff. So there's a point of reckoning, and that point of reckoning I think is really fascinating. I think if we're going to have the conversations about weight loss transformations and the stuff that doesn't often get talked about, I'm not looking to create are we for or are we against having cosmetic surgery, skin removal, tummy tucks, lower body lifts, all that post weight loss. I just want to hear people's thoughts on why they feel how they feel about it, because I've heard some really interesting points. And typically what I hear from people and where I've erred mostly for myself has been on the side of you got to love what you got. My wife today, who has a blog, she made an amazing blog post about embracing what you have and embracing your body and embracing just who you are. And that's the camp that I think no matter whether I ever would get surgery or not get surgery, or whether someone were to get surgery or not get surgery, I would say that you have to really believe in that. That work has to be done. It's so central to the message that we have, even on this platform here, of self-love and self-acceptance. And so the question that I posed to Dr. Michaels, and the question that I posed, here to kind of to myself too, is there a way to really live for self-acceptance? Can you really still stand for self-acceptance, but have a cosmetic surgery? So that's a question I'm throwing out to you guys now. And let me know what your thoughts are. Can you have cosmetic surgery? Can you get excess skin removed after drastic weight loss? It's a big topic. Can you do that and still have that be committed to self-love? Now, again, I know some folks from, Michael, that Josh is his mentor. So Michael, maybe you could tell us, but my sense from the Missing Chins group is that a lot of folks in that group are saying, hey, roll with what you got. Really learn to accept that. And I've heard some people say that the excess skin that you have post-weight loss is a reminder of your journey, or it's a way to continue to humble yourself, or it's, some people have said it's something that I constantly, work towards. So, I'm curious about that. Where do you guys stand in your journeys with drastic weight loss? Have you had surgery? And if you have, what made you go ahead and do that? And if you're against it for your own reasons, I'm curious about that too. And I think it's a great conversation topic to have. Again, we're going to get that doctor on the show. He'll be on the show in the next month or so. And I'm really excited to have him on, just to kind of hear the merits of what he believes. His point, and I'll preview this for you guys now, but his big point is kind of that he says, in my work, he says, I don't think everyone has to have it, but the people that do, for a lot of the times, what he finds is that a lot of them actually keep the weight off more long term, And the reason they do is because for them, it's kind of like a final nail in the coffin. They're putting money towards a big cosmetic procedure to have the excess skin removed. And so he says, it is an act of self-love. And I hadn't really thought of it that way. So again, he's a surgeon. He's pro cosmetic surgery. And I know there's lots of different interesting viewpoints on that. And me personally, I wrestle with it. I'm not sure where I stand. I still would say that if I had to right now make a decision, I don't think I'd have cosmetic surgery for a number of reasons. A lot of it being the point that I mentioned earlier about the commitment to self-love and things like that. But also too, I don't know if some of you have had the ability to kind of go through one of these assessments or get an evaluation. The surgeries are long. It depends on, I guess, what you're doing, but some of these surgeries can be like a 9-hour procedure. So, I think there's that part of it too. It's not strictly, hey, are you for or against surgery because of what you think of it psychologically? There's also other things to consider. Michael on here says, I'm working towards hanging skin, not there yet, but I don't think I would do it, but who knows? Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is that, it's interesting, but that is something that we just don't even always know as part of the journey. Like if you've lost over 80 pounds or so, the end destination isn't a lot of times hanging skin, and then it becomes a matter of tightening that skin. We had a previous guest of our show who had talked about vegan bodybuilding, and how for him, vegan bodybuilding has actually allowed him to, he does it because he'll never have surgery. And as Richard Hubbard said, he said, look, a lot of this skin, people have told me there's no way that I can tighten it, and I want to prove to people I can. And, he's shown some pictures, some progress pictures, and he's done a lot of that. So it's interesting. Do you leave the hanging skin as a way to, another thing to kind of work towards as a reminder of the past? Or is it something that you just, if it's something that really bothers you so much, you work on it towards self-acceptance of it? Or do you remove it and look at it as an act of self-love? I think it's an interesting conversation, and it's one that we can definitely continue to have. Where are you guys weighing in? Right now, if you had drastic weight loss, would you have surgery? If so, give me a like. And if you wouldn't have surgery, I don't know, give me a wow. So to let me know, because I see some people tuning in here. So again, if you had to elect whether or not to have a cosmetic surgery post drastic weight loss, would you do it or would you not do it? And I see a love. Love wasn't one of I see a like and a wow and another wow. Okay, so we got 1 yes and 2 no. I got 3 no's. Okay, interesting. Michael says 30 pounds down and 80 to go. I'm coming to the age of hanging skin anyway. Yeah, and I see some more no's coming in here. Hey, if you're someone that said that you would do it, tell me why you do it. If I know that's going to require you to comment and identify yourself, but I think it's cool. I'm in full support of whatever people think is the best outcome. Catherine says, rather go more natural methods versus surgery. Yeah. And is that, Catherine, more just because how you feel about natural methods and surgery in general, or is that specific to cosmetic stuff with hanging skin and just with weight loss? I'd want to know that too. So yeah, and Ashley's on here, and she is helping out moderate once again, and it may look like that she's responding as me. Unfortunately, I've not found a way to hold the phone and type. But as soon as I find out a way to do that, I will. 90 pounds down, good job. 50 to go. If I were younger, I would have done it. How young? How young would you have to be to have done it? That's a question that I have for Shelly. Surgery is too dangerous for some people. That's what Vicky says. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I think just for some people, surgery is so scary that the idea of doing it is scary enough to where you wouldn't want to, and so I get that too. Again, what was laid out to me was that if you're doing like a even moderate reconstruction, and again, I don't want to speak for the doctor. He's going to be on. He'll tell you more about it. But you're looking at some procedures can go 5 to 10 hours. It's a long time. So, if you're on the fence, it's certainly, I think, like hearing that for me, it pushed me off the fence and more towards I think I'm good with the self-acceptance route. Mainly because of natural reasons. Catherine says some hesitancy of surgery factors in too. Yeah, definitely. Shelley says, if I'm 65, if I were in my 50s. Yeah, and it's interesting, how it's like there's certain ages where maybe we would or we wouldn't. So again, what we're talking about, if you guys are just tuning into Office Hours right now, is this conversation topic that I don't feel like we air out enough, which is surgery. What is your stance on it cosmetically, especially when it comes to drastic weight loss and excessive skin, or tummy tucks or anything like that? And why do you stand so strongly on one side of it? Because I do find that people usually are really passionate about their stance on it. And I would love to hear if someone out there is really all about it and they have a good, not a good, any reason for them is good enough. But I would love to hear why, because I think that's important to hear other people out on that too. Maria, she says, it depends on the extent of surgery. I've seen some great results, however, definitely need support from a doctor like you. Yeah, in terms of the emotional side too, right? That's a great point. There's a lot of people that might say, and that was one of the questions that I said, like, and you'll hear this in the interview. I don't want to give away too much of the interview with him. So he's going to be on Facebook Live, Dr. Joseph Michaels. You can look him up on Instagram. He's got tons and tons of followers. He's got some amazing transformation photos. Some of them are a little like, wow. They're a little graphic. I think even Instagram like censors some of his photos. But he's a super nice, super compassionate guy. And one of the things I said to him is I said, because I've never had like cosmetic surgery, so I'm thinking, is this like tattoos and you get one and all of a sudden you get addicted? And I said, from a psychological standpoint, I would wonder if someone would come in for a tummy tuck, but then all of a sudden decide that they needed like 3 other things done a year later, because now they're slowly like looking at their body in this way of it being like this, creation that they want to chisel down. And he said, more often than not, no, that doesn't happen very often. Usually people come in, especially for the weight loss stuff, they do their one procedure and then that's typically it. And, his report was a lot of people are really happy after that and they adjust after the swelling goes down and things like that. So anyway, it's an interesting topic. If you guys have more thoughts on it, please weigh in. We have some people here in Office Hours. I got to keep an eye on the clock. We don't have much time left. What other questions do you guys have? I know one question that you might have is if you are in the New Jersey or the Baltimore, the DMV area, and you go to Cloud 10 or the Lift Gym, that we have just rolled out a brand new program. And when we say roll out, we're talking tomorrow it rolls out. And the way it rolls out is you'll get an email by tomorrow, and that will give you more details on how to actually register for the program that you have already purchased. And if you have not purchased the program yet and you go to one of those gyms, you better do yourself a favor and let one of those gym owners pay for like 60% of it, because that's what they're willing to do. But anyway, that program link, we will try to drop down in here for you. There's still time to sign up. And again, what is the program? It's my signature program, Rewriting My Story. And it's really just geared around helping you rewrite your story. What's the story you tell about yourself, helping you rewrite your story, and also what is your relationship with food? So we're dealing with self-esteem, we're dealing with self-worth, self-love, body image. We're dealing with being defined by the number on the scale. We're dealing with eating for anxiety, loneliness, depression. If anyone can resonate with that, I guarantee this program is going to be really, really helpful to you. And we have new content that we're uploading into that program. And that new content is based on this series that we just really talked a lot about on the Slaying Shame Tour, which is the I Am affirmations. And some of them I just mentioned to you right now. And I really want you to identify with the new content that we have of what are some of the I Am statements that I struggle with. So, the big thing here is you're going to look at these I Am statements. And you guys, the shirt, I know people keep asking about buying this shirt. We are sold out. I thought I made enough of them. They're gone. But we're going to make more shirts. And it's actually cool because I wore it the other day for the interview with Josh, and I was walking to my office to do the interview. You could tell people stopping and just kind of looking and reading it, which is awesome because, you know, we're not the first people to say these statements. These are universal truths, but I think they're really, really core and foundational to rewriting your story. And everyone who looks at it can agree with it, I hope. You know, you can agree that you're worthy, you can agree that you're lovable, but, you know, even in the course of doing the lessons and just in the way that life unfolds, I am consistently reminded that I'm a wounded healer. I mean, I try to be as open and transparent as I possibly can with you guys, but, you know, the things that I write on that shirt, they all make sense to me in my head. Not all of them do I live out in my life. I wish I could tell you different. I wish I could tell you I have it all figured out. Some days I live out some of those things more than others. You know, some of them I'm further ahead of on the others, like the evolving. I am evolving. Like, yeah, I'm committed to that. I believe it in my head. I feel it in my bones, as Brene Brown would say. I am lovable. That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not going to lie, though. Some days I catch myself through my self-talk, or I catch myself in just how I'm showing up in the world. And I'm not living that one out. So it's a challenge to consistently not just identify which of these do we agree with, but which of these do we exude, and which do we have trouble exuding. And the program is going to give you action steps on how you can actually go into the program and be able to really work on those things. Because, you know, here's the thing, and thank you, Maria, about honesty. Like, it's the only way to be, because the only way we are going to grow, and again, this is me recycling Brene Brown, who I love, but the only way we're going to grow is through vulnerability. And in the same sense, the only way we're not going to grow is by not being vulnerable, not being honest. That's why the emojis that we're using for office hours are the 100 sign. For those of you that don't know what the 100 means, it actually represents the number 100, and as some people would call it, 100. And what it basically means is to keep it real and honest. And Brene Brown would call that vulnerable. We have lots of different names for it. But the point is, if you're not being vulnerable with yourself, you will never grow. There's no growth in showing up the way you think the world wants you to show up. There's no growth in trying to be who the world wants you to be. There's no growth in the looks good but feels bad family or relationship or individual, right? And we could do it now so easily. We all do it to some degree. I do it. We all do it to some degree. We put filters on our lives and we edit out some stuff. I'm not saying we need to sit here and air every little piece of our life on these Facebook Lives and on our Instagram posts and all that. But what I am saying is we need to start getting honest, if not with anyone else, but with ourselves. Because if you want to grow and you want to really work on some things, if you really want to stop this pattern and interrupt the pattern of food addiction, if you want to interrupt the pattern of low self-esteem, of negative self-talk, if you want to interrupt the pattern of being attracted to relationships that aren't good for you, if you want to interrupt those patterns, you got to first raise your hand and say, I'm caught in one of those patterns, or I struggle with that. And yeah, that's scary. It takes a certain amount of honesty and vulnerability, but man, life is short. And there's a lot of people right now that could tell you, because they're facing things in their life that will tell you that have humbled them, life is short. There is no time but the present to be honest with yourself and to be vulnerable. And again, if you want to grow, that's the only route. I wish I knew an easier way. I wish I did, but there's just really not any other ways. So be vulnerable. That shirt that I wear, I'm not living all those out 100%. I strive to. I don't know if I'll ever get there. Maybe, you know, for me in my faith, it's like one day when I'm up in heaven, I'll be living that shirt out and really exuding that, but not right now. I'm still working on it. I'm still broken. I'm still a wounded healer. What other questions do you guys have? Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. Just what I need to hear. Thank you so much. Absolutely, Vicky. I'm really glad that resonated with you. Thank you for sharing that. I got a couple more minutes, guys. What questions do you have? Anything under the sun. I'm a therapist, not just a weight loss therapist. I'm a therapist, and I help people with all sort. You name it, I've heard it, and I've helped someone work through it. Catherine says, "Where can I see the shirt?" Maybe Ashley could pop in and just drop the shirt in there if you can, Ashley. I don't know if there's a way to do that. And Catherine, we are going to have we're going to have a way for you to order the shirt too online, and that way you could see it, of course too. So yeah, go ahead and check that out when you get a chance. And yeah, we'd love to see if you can resonate with different things on the shirt and which you don't resonate with and all that stuff. But yeah, anyway, I want to thank all you guys for tuning in today. But as I mentioned, if you have any questions, throw them at me. And the more questions I get, the longer I stay, even though I probably got to go. But here, I got one. Awesome. Here we go. Thanks for your passion and dedication. I appreciate it. Honestly, this is an outlet for my passion to come out. And every time I do one of these lives, I walk away more determined in my own journey because I get a chance to just share what's on my heart and to really talk to you guys. So I really appreciate you sharing that, Janine. Intermittent fasting, what is your take? I'll tell you that, again, not a medical doctor. I would consult a medical doctor. I always go to nutritionfacts.org. That's like my one-stop shop, nutritionfacts.org. It's a nonprofit site that's run by Dr. Michael Greger, who is unbelievable. He basically closes down his practice, and what he does with it is he just sits there and he reviews medical research so that you don't have to. And then he creates these little videos and basically breaks down the truth on things. And anyway, so what does Michael Greger say about intermittent fasting? I don't know. Go to nutritionfacts.org. He'll tell you. I know that I've looked it up, and it actually, that I use it, but I use it in a way more as my coach who just logged on. Hey, Sharon. As my coach has really encouraged me towards intuitive eating. So I end up intermittent fasting, so fasting for a period sometimes of as long as 12 to 18 hours because I'm not hungry and I'm listening to my body. So I'm not following a fasting program. Justin Lacey, go ahead, look up Justin Lacey. He does water fasting programs mixed with plant-based eating. There's tons of great information out there. I think that it could be a tremendous resource. In fact, I just saw Dr. Furman had an email today about someone that used it. I know that at True North, the health clinic that Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer run, they do water fasting to break different forms of addiction, whether it could be to sugar or addictions to drugs or pills, or it could be just to kick off a weight loss transformation. So I definitely think there's something to it, and it's been around forever. So I think with things like that, recycled truth, again, I'm big on that. So yeah, I'm pro, I guess, intermittent fasting, but I think that I don't think there's any one huge solution that's going to change your life, but I think that it's something that if you're interested in, I would look into it. The way I use it is in terms of intuitive eating. If I'm not hungry, I won't eat. So often my first meal of the day will not come until about noon. And my last meal of the day, I try to make 8 o'clock. So that's, I don't know. I'm not a math major. That's 16 hours. That's not 16 hours of no food. It's something like that. It is. My wife gives me a bad time. She's like, you have a doctorate. You should be able to. I'm like, I didn't get a doctorate in everything. I didn't get a doctorate in arithmetic, as you could tell. That's 14. No, that's not 14. That's 18 hours. Someone help me out here. How many hours is that? Anyway, whatever. It's a while. Can you recommend self-help love books? Yeah, I definitely can. My favorite love book for if you're in a relationship, or even if you're not in a relationship, is Hold Me Tight. And I would tell you to go check out Sue Johnson's stuff too on YouTube. Sue Johnson right now is in my opinion, probably one of the biggest pioneers in couples therapy, if not the biggest pioneer, with her emotionally focused couples therapy. It is absolutely amazing. Go check that out. She has great stuff. Her book, Hold Me Tight, is absolutely unbelievable. Let's see. So yeah, I would check that out. Other self-help, but I'll tell you what, I'll think more about that because I know I got to run, but there are other books that I would tell you that are amazing. Anything by Brene Brown. A book that changed my life a couple of years ago was The Gift of Imperfections. And Brene Brown's stuff on shame and vulnerability, Google it, TED Talk. It's one of the most highly rated TED Talk out there. It's unbelievable. And Ashley's saying she can't add the picture of the shirt, but she's going to be able to try to find a way to do that. So absolutely, we're gonna make sure that we get the shirt on there. In fact, if you click on the info on my Dr. Mondo page, the shirt's under the info button. It's like more information, something like that. Someone on here says, suffering for depression for the first time in my life as a result of this weight loss thing. Any recommendations? Yeah, I think one thing is to just realize that anytime that we work with someone in the therapy realm, we're always doing medical rule outs first. And so when you're in a situation where you're losing weight, that means you're changing your diet. So might you be experiencing some depression symptoms as a result of changing your diet, and maybe your body's detoxing, or it's very possible, right? There's a lot of changes happening. So it's really hard to pinpoint maybe, and I know this isn't your question, but like what is causing the depression per se. But that would be something that I would want to talk to your doctor or talk to your health professional that's helping you. If there's a coach helping you transition, if Josh is the one helping you transition, talk to him just about your experience of depression. And then the other thing is that, depression is something that we find often is an internal battle, that if we externalize it through, and this is going to sound basic, but basic sometimes is really impactful. So if we can externalize it through not just exercising, but going to talk therapy, or to journaling, or to spending regular time getting with friends and coffee, the monologue in your head is always worse than the dialogue that you'll have with someone that cares every single time. So you need to talk about it. And I'd love to hear more. If there's any other questions you have, please let me know. Just ready to rewrite my story and see myself in a positive, beautiful, healthy way. Davina, that is going to happen because you're in the program, and I'm so excited. You're going to get the email by tomorrow to get this started. And then I'm going to be expecting you to log on here and give me feedback and tell me how you're living once you're doing that. So really excited for that. I'm told not eating for that long is bad for you. Again, that's where I've been told that too. But I'm just going to tell you what I know from my experience. I'm not a health coach. I am a licensed therapist, so it's not my forte. But in my lane, my coach, who's on here right now, and she could tell you, she said that, look, only eat if you're hungry. If you're not hungry, don't eat. And that's been a really good a rule that's really worked for me. And so I kind of backed my way into intermittent fasting in that way. But also too, Justin Lacey's a good guy to talk to, and I'm sure, and I know Josh knows Justin, so talk to him about it too. Yeah, thank you, Janine. 16 hours. You've been doing the same. That is so good to hear. Absolutely. Guys, my office is going to get shut down if I don't leave it. Sometimes they turn the alarm on, and then I go to leave, and the whole thing goes off, and it'd be embarrassing if I were embarrassed easily. I don't shame easy. I think, as evidenced by me just talking to you guys about whatever on here. But anyway, yeah. So Dr. Furman has a good book on fasting too. I don't want the alarm to go off on me, but Sharon just wrote that down. Sharon, maybe you could tell the name of the book, but check that out. Again, and Michael, maybe you can message me. I would love to talk to you more about what you're posting on here. Just had a health problem that really Josh talked me down off the ledge before and really helped my depression. That's why I'm back in the program. So there you go. Support as a means to the depression. I'm not, again, talk therapy is huge. So I think you need the support system. I do talk therapy, not just I provide it, I actually do it myself too. Like I go to talk therapy. And I was always, like I was the guy that when I was in graduate school, I stood up in psychopharmacology and I challenged, this is all big pharma and no one needs to be medicated for different, conditions and people are making money off it. And all of that is so true, 100% true. But with that said, full disclosure, I take an antidepressant. And I got to a point in my life and my journey where it just made sense for me. And so I'm on medication. And again, just like the other, I've learned that the more hardline stances you take on things, life has a way of humbling you on them. And so it's something to consider, but don't do it as your first means. I still have issue with that. I hate when I hear people go, I'm depressed, and they go to a doctor and the first thing they do is put them on an antidepressant. Go to talk therapy, get in your community, get to exercising, get to regular healthy eating habits, do 10 rule outs, and then if it's for a prolonged period of time, that's when you would probably go, yeah, If I see a long enough pattern in my biochemistry, which I did for me personally, then yeah, then I think it's worth a shot. And for me, it actually really worked a lot. So I'm glad. It actually kicked me into doing plant-based. I never would have done plant-based if I wouldn't have finally surrendered to medication and gotten on antidepressants. So anyway, you guys are awesome. It's been a great talk. We went a lot of different places today, and that's always the good ones. We'll see you next Tuesday for Rob on the road. Nalita, if I had a rap prepared for you, I'd rap on the way out for Nalita just to continue to try to hold my crown. But Nalita, Josh and I have agreed that we're going to come do, we're not going to do a rap battle because we don't want to battle each other. But he could flow a little bit. And he started busting it out for me in a little bit before we started the show. So we're going to be out there and we're going to rap with you at the next Beson Soup and Serenade. So look out for that. You guys have a great Thursday.